It even happens while we sleep. 1. Slow and steady. August 5th. There is an eerie, still quiet in the small, East Coast town. On the other side of the United States right at that moment, the world was literally on fire, but here the sun has only just set and the streets have already been empty for hours. June's reflection stares back at her, faintly. On the pane of glass in the window she stares out through to the dimly lit street, overcome with a sense of wanderlust and a nagging sense of loneliness. It feels like the whole world has disappeared, what little was here to begin with, and she has been left behind. June's phone dings from the coffee table and she glances over to it listlessly. Looking at it reminds her to check her bank account and worry about how little time she has left before she is kicked out for not paying rent. Should she start packing now or not? Is that even the right question to ask? She will find something, she has time. How much time though? Ugh, she can feel her thoughts spiraling and with it her anxiety growing. She stares back through the window onto the empty street where not even cars are passing by anymore. She can hardly afford to stay for more than another month or two at most, but canceling her lease early would cost her $800 and she would lose her security deposit, which they would probably find a way to take from her anyway as long as she has been staying there. And then there are the myriad hassles of shopping for a new apartment, which she still wouldn't be able to afford, implying another several $100s in application fees, and several $1,000s up front, even if she found a deal. She could always return home after years of barely keeping in touch with family on the other side of the state. She left home after her grandmother died not long after being able to move to the United States from South Korea. This had a negative impact on her parents, only furthering encouraging their daughter to spread her wings. But, in this, she lost her last real connection to that Korean heritage that she could only imagine. Her mother, the half-Korean child of a US soldier that decided not to return home after the war. June's mother, Kim, had left her parents in South Korea after graduating high school, coming to America to explore the land her father left, and yet spoke so highly of. She had followed in the tradition her grandfather and Kim had chosen, time and again before she was born. As soon as one became an adult, they would find their place in the world. At first, she had her grand aspirations and dreams, but lately, she had settled for a life of least resistance in a sleepy town not far from the Blue Ridge Mountains. As her thoughts wander, she feels as though the dark emptiness of the scene out the window is calling out to her, drawing her in, and thankfully, giving her something else to focus on, as depressing as it is. Inside these four walls, she feels trapped. It hasn't always been like this, has it? Not just out there, but inside of her too. She has never felt quite right in the world, but up until a few months before, she felt confident in the progress she had made into adulthood so far. It was the beginning of the pandemic when her nerves started to get to her, as she saw how easily her carefully constructed reality could fall apart all around her. She had worked in a hotel restaurant, a place where she regularly saw a wide variety of faces, local and otherwise. But as people began to worry about getting sick, they gradually got used to not going to restaurants, and not traveling so much either, for that matter. She saw the end coming when they started cutting hours and then staff, and even though she wasn't among the first to go, every day past meant losing familiar co-workers. Seeing that customer traffic wasn't picking up, she feared she would be next. It was a long run. Her boss liked her so much that she kept her on until the end, or at least until the hotel closed to cut their losses for now, as they said. But no one knows how long now is, and even months later they are no closer to an answer. Maybe a vaccine will fix things, she thinks. It could get people out and about again without fear, but the last time she was able to stand watching the news, they said that could still be over a year off. June doesn't have years to wait, though, and no one is fighting to keep people like her from getting evicted right now, except for a few familiar faces like Bernie Sanders, bless his heart. Others seem to hope that the election will change things, but it seems like such a clown show to her, especially after seeing a crass reality star rise to the highest office in the land. Sure, she wants him out, but her faith in the political system that has chosen him to find a worthy successor is at an all-time low. For weeks, she has hoped that something might give, something might change, people would fill the streets again, and the hotel would be open and busy. In this fantasy, her rent is paid, and looking at her phone doesn't fill her with dread. She has been a perfectly functional adult in her early 20s, not exactly an extrovert, but she always had people in her life. Now, though, this feeling of disconnection is insufferable. June pulls herself away from the window. There is no reason to be scared of her phone. Maybe it is someone reaching out? Checking her phone, she realizes that it is an ad from Social Link, reminding her to check out a trending post on Social Link from someone she has never heard of. No thanks, even for getting my hopes up, she thinks as she falls back onto the couch and stares up at the ceiling, holding her phone against her chest. She will have to find another job. That is the thought she can't get away from. But honestly, she isn't quite sure how anymore. She has worked at the Grand for years and got the job based on word of mouth. In most of her adult life, she hasn't had to look for work that hard, it has found her. But for the first time in her life, it feels like employment is hiding and she isn't sure what to do. June sighs and closes her eyes, letting out a deep breath. It is all so overwhelming, the thought of starting over, of trying to find a new job in a world that seems to be falling apart. She has always been a hard worker, but it seems like no matter how hard she tries, she can't catch a break. The world is changing and she is being left behind. June stands up and walks over to her laptop, determined to start looking for a new job. Yesterday she had put in an application for a local bar, Old Dominion Brewing. She did it online so she wasn't tempted to drink away some of her future rent money there. No answer from them. How hard can it be to sell drinks with her service experience? Most people in a bar are addicts, if not to alcohol, let's say to the thrills of nightlife and leave it vague. The drinks might as well sell themselves. Then again, bars were looking risky right now, much like other hospitality jobs, including the one she had just lost. There was a case being made that states should close their bars for a while, but her governor had instead decided that a bar curfew was sufficient. Opening her browser on her laptop, she opens a local map in one window, and a job listing board next to it. She doesn't own a car, and the idea of having to hire some underpaid goober wage slave to drive her to and from work twice a day sounds like hell, so she's keeping her search as local as possible. She knows it won't be easy, but she can't just sit around and do nothing. She opens up a job search website and begins scrolling through the available positions. There are a few options in the hospitality industry, but she knows it will be competitive and she may not have the necessary experience for some of the other jobs. She notices something as she zooms in near the park, a janitorial service headquartered near the park. That wouldn't be a bad walk, she thinks, typing the name into the job listing website and hitting search. Looks like no openings, though one of the other janitorial services looks to be fairly close. She types the address into the map and asks for walking directions from her downtown apartment. 47 minutes? Twice a day? Ugh, this town needed better public transit, or at least, she needed to get a bike she couldn't afford and had nowhere to put. It's not like she could park it in the parking spot she wasn't using. She holds her forehead in her hands, not knowing what she could do next. Despite the uncertainty, June remains determined. She updates her resume and begins applying for jobs, reaching out to old co-workers and friends to see if they know of any openings. It is a slow process, but she knows that she has to keep going. As the days go by, June finds herself getting more and more discouraged. It seems like every job she applies for either goes to someone else or simply disappears. She starts to wonder if she will ever be able to find something that will allow her to pay her rent and get back on her feet. The emptiness of the world around her only exacerbates her feelings of loneliness. With so many businesses closed or operating at reduced capacity, the streets feel eerily quiet and devoid of the bustle and energy that June has always taken for granted. She finds herself craving human connection, but with social distancing measures still in place, it is hard to find opportunities to interact with others in a meaningful way. It is in this context that June begins to consider joining the local gym. She has always enjoyed exercise, long walks, and even a little lifting weights in college. The thought of being able to sweat out some of her stress and frustration is appealing. At the same time, the idea of joining a crowded gym during a pandemic fills her with trepidation. She isn't sure if she is ready to take that risk, no matter how much she craves the sense of community and purpose that the gym offers. June decides to play it by ear when she gets there. How crowded is it? How available are cleaning supplies? How often do people actually use them? Do the staff wear masks? Do the customers? It was like a pandemic safety checklist. But as the days continue to go by without income and June continues to feel more and more isolated and scared, she finds herself increasingly drawn to the idea of joining the gym. She knows that she will have to be careful and follow all the necessary precautions, but she also knows that the benefits of being able to exercise and connect with others could be well worth the risk. What did she have to lose? On another August evening, sitting in front of her computer and hoping that someone will respond to her efforts, June can feel a growing tightness in her chest. Fresh air. She needs some fresh air, she tells herself as she puts her phone back down on the coffee table and shrugs on a light jacket by the door. She can't just give up. She has to keep going, has to find a way to make things work. She can't let herself get consumed by this feeling of loneliness and despair. With a renewed sense of determination, June opens the door, ready to take on whatever challenges come her way. She may not know what the future holds, but she knows that she has the strength and the drive to face it head on. Of all the things she could complain about, the colors of the sunset painted over the horizon aren't one of them, and the crisp, fresh air is rejuvenating. Perhaps it is the lack of cars and their exhaust, but she could swear that this is the freshest the air has ever been in this city, since moving here after school. It is becoming the case that she is learning to enjoy these evening walks, before the first biting chills of August nights can set in. Walking down the empty streets, she can't help but feel a sense of peace and solitude. It's nice to be out of the stuffy apartment, away from the constant buzzing of the computer and the stress of job searching. She takes a deep breath and looks up at the clear, starry sky above her. It's moments like these that help her to feel grounded, to remember that there is beauty in the world even when things seem tough. Though the hotel has perhaps been hit the hardest, the restaurants in the area have fallen on hard times as well, and even the ones that are still open are more likely to lay someone off than to hire someone new. From her experiences in the soul-crushing lines at the unemployment office and some of the conversations she's overheard, there are a lot more people in the market for those jobs than just her by a long shot. Even though it is still early, most of the local businesses that are open have closed their doors at the start of dusk, as the last of the commuters return home. There is no soft glow from the shops as she walks many of the downtown streets, at least, not until a neon sign catches her eye. Old Dominion was one exception, and rumor had it they were accommodating even an hour or so after curfew if you knew how to keep your mouth shut. Though, from the prevalence of the rumor, it seems like no one actually could keep quiet about it. The gym was another exception. She was walking up on it now. Fitness Palace, let us treat you like royalty, the sign promises. One of the Ys and the K seem to have burnt out over time. She has noticed it in the distance many times, noticing the bright colors of the sign. Through those plate glass windows, she sees some of the first people she's seen since leaving the apartment. Sure, there aren't many cars in the parking lot, but she had assumed that the local gym might have been the first place to shut down during a viral outbreak like this, but that doesn't seem to be the case. They are probably running the store on a skeleton crew to keep the doors open, but it must be hard for them even then. It's not like people flocked to the gym before the pandemic, so it is surprising for June to see this many people here now, probably working out after work, a concept which, as a former hospitality employee, makes her shudder to consider. What masochism could lead anyone to exercise after work? Clearly these people have easy jobs. Or maybe there was something more to it than energy. Perhaps it was as much an addiction as drinking late into the night at the bar, she considers. It isn't that she has much place to judge though, having no job at all. The closest thing she has to exercise during the week are these evening walks. She actually enjoys being on her feet at work in a way she hadn't realized until after about 1 week on her couch binging streaming shows in between sending out flurries of applications. The walks help, but she has an anxious energy burning away inside of her that she feels she needs to quench. Also, sitting around all day leaves her legs feeling awkward and stiff. A small part of her fears that through long enough unemployment, she might just forget how to walk altogether, destined to remain one with her couch watching old comedy movies. As she stands in front of the gym, she pulls a cloth mask from her pocket and puts it on, feeling ever so slightly apprehensive. June couldn't shake the feeling of loneliness that had been gnawing at her for weeks. The pandemic had left her feeling isolated and disconnected from the world, and the loss of her job had only added to the sense of uncertainty. But as she looked through the plate glass windows, she saw people moving and laughing, working out and enjoying themselves. It was the first time she had seen anything like it in weeks, and it was a welcome sight. Despite her initial hesitation, June pushed open the door and stepped inside. The gym was smaller than she had expected, but it was bustling with activity. There were 2 people behind the counter, Ashley and Melvin, according to their name tags, and both were wearing masks covering the bottom of their faces, something that felt relieving. But also a bit unsettling because in the back of her mind she imagined an awkward future where she knew these people well, but never got a chance to know what their faces looked like. You could say, what does it matter, it's just a receptionist? But every worker, no matter how lowly in rank, is still a person. Clearly short-staffed, Ashley was talking a customer, though some membership paperwork on the counter between them. Melvin was standing thanks to a pair of crutches, and was the one to greet her with a welcome and a smile. You look new here. Welcome to Fitness Palace, how can I serve you today? I'm thinking I might like a membership here, June replies, unsure what else to say. Melvin's smile turns a bit and he looks over to Ashley, who without missing a beat replies, with someone. Well, I guess I'll be showing you around then, Melvin says with a weak smile, working his way around to counter to stand beside June. You don't have to, she says, a bit bashfully. I'm afraid I do, company policy, Your Highness. Melvin replies. I suppose it's on the sign. You're supposed to treat us like royalty, right? That's the idea. If you ever need anything, let me know and I'll do my best to help you if I can. Anyway, as you can see, even now we have a lot of loyal customers who wouldn't miss it for a day, Melvin adds. Is this your first gym membership? June makes a face at him for a second before replying, what was that supposed to mean? We had an on-campus YMCA where I went to school, we got in free of charge even though I'm not a young man or a Christian. It was a little bigger than this place, but your equipment looks a lot more varied. Melvin limply shakes his hands, letting the hand sanitizer quickly evaporate and dry before shaking her hand. This was difficult because of the crutches, but he managed. First of all, I want to assure you that machines are sanitized multiple times daily by staff, and customers are encouraged to use our cleaning stations to wipe down their machines before and indefinitely after use. That being said, we have a wide variety of cardio equipment, stairmasters, ellipticals, bikes, rowing machines, and of course, treadmills, Melvin says, trying to gesture to the machines without taking his hands totally off his crutches. Cardio is easy for me to wrap my head around, it's all this other stuff, June says with a laugh. We have a lot of single-purpose resistance machines, but don't get intimidated, they all do a pretty good job of explaining what they do and how to use them, Melvin explains. Do you have any questions about any of them in particular? June looks over the instructions written on the machine closest to her, which called itself a tricep extension, judging them to be easy enough to figure out on her own. Nope, I think I should be able to handle it. Other than burning off some energy, I was kinda hoping I might, meet people here. I've been feeling isolated since I lost my job, and it would be good to really be able to see people again. Oh, absolutely, Melvin replies with a sympathetic nod. The gym can be a great place to socialize and connect with others. And with everything that's been going on, I'm sure a lot of people are feeling the same way you are. Don't be afraid to introduce yourself to others. That's what we're here for, to help you feel comfortable and supported in your fitness journey. Anyway, if that's the case, I have a pretty simple solution for you, but do you mind if we take a seat up front and talk it over? Melvin asks with a weak smile. Sure. Oh please, you're making me feel guilty walking me all around here on that foot of yours. What happened anyway? June inquires. To be honest, I don't really know. You'd think it happened while I was working out or something, right? Actually, I was dancing. My friend runs these private raves, very hush-hush on the details because, well but I was really getting into it and my foot just came down wrong. They helped me get some first aid there, but they weren't sure from the swelling exactly what happened. You haven't seen a doctor? June asks, looking a little shocked. Melvin laughs a little uncomfortably, can't afford to. I'm just hoping I can just wait it out. You don't have health insurance through work or anything, I mean this is supposed to be a business, about health. They offer it, and they help pay for it, but I still can't afford it and honestly they should know that since they sign my bills, Melvin admits as they reach a small table and chairs that Melvin and the other employees used to go over paperwork and get people sold on a membership. June notices a powerful sigh of relief as Melvin takes a seat, propping his sore ankle up in a third chair and resting his crutches on a fourth. Passing a few papers across the table, Melvin gives the short version of the sales pitch. I can read through all the fine print with you and you want, but the bottom line here is that membership starts at $15 a month, not gonna break the bank there. But you should know that there's an additional $50 annual fee to cover yearly upkeep on the equipment, charged on New Year's Day or thereabouts, and a $45 fee if you cancel in the first year. Oh, and please be sure to wear a mask. Fitness Palace is following future President Biden's recent advisement on masking, but I'm sure you won't have a problem with that. Ugh, see, I'm not so sure right now how I'm paying rent. I've been waiting for the unemployment office to at least respond to my application at all, but I hear there's a historic backlog, and the job search has been awful. $15 a month isn't going to be the difference between rent and homelessness in any case, but if I have to cancel, a $50 fee would really hurt. $45.50 is the annual fee, but I have a solution. We have a membership with no cancellation fee at all starting at $20 a month, and then you don't have to worry about it. You could come in and cancel or even pause your membership at any time. I suppose I can afford that, June says with a small laugh. If only I could say that about rent. There is a chance, so I hear, that Congress could pass legislation that would keep you from getting evicted during the pandemic, Melvin offers. Those kinds of things never pass, not the stuff that would help people like you or me anyway. I'm looking for other ways to make money right now. A lot of places are letting you work from home. I was thinking maybe I could pick up one of those and get to work on it in my spare time. Something to where I don't have to hope for good health every time I go dancing or else. Anything promising? I ran into a recruiter for some tech company the other day, wants to test some new high-tech product, and I got him to sign me up. Haven't heard back yet though. Any chance you could get me in touch with him? I sold him a membership, so I'll ask for a card or something the next time I see him. For right now though, would you like to get signed up? Probably. Just one more question though, what's the best time to come in to meet the regulars? Maybe someone I can build. I don't know, a little camaraderie with or something. Oh lord, are you saying you actually miss your coworkers? Melvin said with a snide glance to Ashley that made June giggle a little. Well, I miss having people to talk to and hang out with, that's for sure. It's been a pretty lonely few months, June replies. I understand. Most people come in during the evenings after work or on the weekends. That's usually when the gym is busiest and you'll have the most opportunities to meet people. But honestly, anytime you come in you are likely to find someone to talk to. We have a pretty friendly group of regulars here. That sounds good to me. I think I'm ready to sign up now, June says with a smile. Great. Let's get you set up. Do you have a credit card or debit card we can use to process the membership fee? Melvin asks as he hands June a pen and a form to fill out. Yeah, I do. I'm ready to join the Fitness Palace family, June replies as she fills out the form and hands it back to Melvin. Welcome to the family, June. I'm sure you'll love it here. And don't worry, you're not alone. We're all in this pandemic together and we're here to support each other, Melvin says with a warm smile. Thanks, she reads his name tag again, Melvin. It's good to feel a sense of community again, June replies as she hands over her card to complete the transaction. I can't wait to start working out and getting to know some of the other members. 2. Helping Hands. August 18th. Morning light filters over June's feet as a playlist starts up on her phone as a reminder to get out of bed and go to the gym to try and meet people. Maybe they would know something about a job opportunity, she hoped. Anything must be less fruitless than what she'd tried so far. As they say, you have to spend money to make money, and she was beyond sick of the online application scene. Do people even read those? She finds herself wondering, for all the good they're doing her. Most of the jobs that were really left in this town were either very specific and of no use for her, or you had to know someone to even be seen, and over the last year, she had become a lot more out of touch with the locals. Not even seeing her former regulars at work now to give her some sense of belonging in this adopted community mere hours north from where she grew up. Be nice to them, June, remember your manners, she reminds herself as she climbs groggily out of bed. Why people would choose to regularly wake up this early for a workout remained mystery to her. She hoped they would get along. She stands in front of her bathroom mirror, reading through affirmations, deciding which felt right for the day. She speaks. I am capable and brave. I stand up for myself. I can provide for myself. She could hear her voice wavering, but she persisted. And I deserve joy in my life. For a moment she feels like she might cry, but she continues on to read the next affirmation. I am not as alone as I feel. June takes a moment to center herself and calm her mind, body, and thoughts. You can be the person they want to get to know. You can be the person they tell about that quiet opportunity, just right for a friend in need. I choose to be happy today, she continues, feeling a bit more resolute. Anything is possible in my life. June again hesitates before entering the Fitness Palace. The pandemic has made her realize the importance of taking care of herself. She takes a deep breath and walks through the doors, greeted by the sound of pounding footsteps and the hum of treadmills. She sees a group of people working out on the machines, their faces focused and determined. Confidently, she hops on a treadmill and starts to run. She feels the burn in her muscles as she pushes herself harder and harder. As the minutes tick by, she starts to feel a sense of accomplishment. She is making progress and feeling more confident in her own strength, like she had when she ran regularly in college. She takes note of the faces of the other members also here at the crack of dawn, noticing how much brighter their attitudes seem to magically become after a good endorphin spike. They are like addicts lining up for a dose of treadmill, she thinks. Well, at least it's a healthy addiction, June reasons. I could stand to have new friends with healthy addictions, she thinks to herself as she lowers the speed and incline of the machine to take a more calm look around, occasionally making eye contact and waving, smiling under her mask for what little good it does her. In any case, waking up early to run with familiar faces seemed like it was a better way to live than instead staying up drinking with familiar faces at the ODB. Despite her growing confidence in herself and her fitness, June struggles to wake up early enough to join the same group of people on the treadmills. It takes her a while to see some of the same faces twice. She has always been a night owl, so early wake-up calls are a struggle for her, and the thought of getting up before dawn is a daunting prospect she can barely accomplish. It takes a lot of willpower to drag herself out of bed. She finds herself hitting the snooze button multiple times before finally getting up and making her way to the gym, if even that. Often, she finds herself without motivation and doom-scrolling in bed instead of actually leaving at the right time. But as she becomes more accustomed to the routine, it gets easier. And the feeling of accomplishment she gets from starting her day with a workout makes it all worth it. June loves the sense of accomplishment she gets from pushing herself to run faster and farther each day. It was a fight between habit, discipline, and self-indulgence. Though, with the ODB now closing at 10, and her generally being too broke to afford their drinks anymore, it was at least easier to get herself to bed on time. After a few weeks she's introduced herself to a few of the regulars, some of which are surprisingly talkative for the wee hours of the morning. Within a few weeks, June found herself enjoying her workouts at the fitness palace. She found a group of people who were also there to get their cardio in the early mornings, and they became like a chatty group of old friends, as if something was pushing these ladies to talk as much as they jogged, not that the sometimes leering older men were much better. It was a far cry from the bustling social scene that she had once taken for granted, but it was a start. And despite the struggle of waking up at dawn to arrive early enough to see the same familiar faces, June found herself looking forward to her daily workouts and the sense of purpose and community they brought. Sadly, of these women and the leering men neither seemed to be titans of industry or job creators. Still, women like her favorite, Diane, had hopes and dreams and they weren't afraid to broad.c.ast them to the world. It was more than a little inspiring to June to talk to her, and it was an easy early morning conversation for a tired June, because Diane always had plenty to talk about. One of her big dreams was to make internet widely available at a price as close to free as she could get it. In theory, she explained that it was possible using something she called a mesh network, but it would take a lot of routers placed all over downtown, participating in a totally new network that bypasses the monopolized and overpriced one-option internet. It was an expensive dream, but perhaps the thing most dispiriting for Diane was how many people would have to come together, for no immediate benefit to themselves, all to try to make her dream happen. June didn't understand a lot of it, but what she did understand, she appreciated. Hell, she'd even be willing to help, she tells Diane one morning, but Diane reminds her of the almost impossible nature of her dream. 2 women alone wouldn't be enough to pull this off. As she makes her way to the gym one morning, having missed a lot of the dawn crew by a bit, she sees the treadmills already mostly empty. The remaining faces are all white under their masks, so Diane wouldn't be among them. As she walked through the doors of the gym, she was greeted by the smell of disinfectant and the sound of people working out on machines. She made her way to the cardio section and hopped on a treadmill, settling into a comfortable pace. As she ran, she couldn't help but feel a sense of loneliness wash over her. It was strange to be surrounded by so many people, yet still feel so isolated. June was struggling to catch her breath as she ran on the treadmill at the gym. She had been trying to get back into shape since the pandemic had started, but it was hard to find the motivation to exercise on her own. As she was running, she noticed a woman walking towards her with a friendly smile on her face. "Hi there," the woman said, extending her hand. "I'm Rach, a personal trainer here at Fitness Palace. Do you need any help with your workout?" She was tall and had an enviable build, muscular yet curvy as well. She looked strong, with her bodybuilding top showing off 10th definition. The short cropped pixie cut with bright pink fringes completes the vision, just a bit messy and tossed like she had just gotten out of bed. "Rach, like, Rachel?" June inquires. "I mean, if you're my parents, maybe my doctor, or you're signing my checks, sure, but for you, Rach." June continued to hesitate for a moment before answering her earlier question. She had always wanted to work with a personal trainer, but she just couldn't afford it. I can't really afford personal training," she said, feeling embarrassed. Rach chuckled and waved her hand dismissively. "Don't worry about it," she said. "I'm just bored out of my mind since the pandemic started, and I could use something to do. I'm happy to help you out for free, let's just say, for the love of fitness, Your Highness." June was surprised and grateful for the offer. "Thank you so much," she said, shaking Rach's hand. "I really appreciate it." Rach grinned. "No problem. Let's get started, my queen." June was grateful for Rach's offer and gratefully accepted. As they worked out together, June began to feel more comfortable in the gym and less isolated. Rach was friendly and encouraging, and June found herself looking forward to their future workouts together. As they run and lift weights together, June starts to feel a sense of camaraderie and connection that she has been missing since the pandemic hit. Only a week later they were like old friends already. "You haven't been talking to Melvin about me again, have you?" June asks as she re-racks her weights. Rach smirks. "Are you surprised he asked about you? You're an attractive young woman, and besides, he has a thing for injured birds, if you know what I mean." "I don't," June replies sincerely. "Oh, you gave him that hard luck story about being laid off and having trouble finding work, and he's a real sucker for people he thinks need help. Sometimes a little overbearing about it, but it's a sign of a good heart on him," Rach replies. "Well, that's the last thing I had in mind. How does it feel?" June laughs. "Sore. But it feels good. Like I earned it. Not sure it's doing anything for my case of couch belly though. Job searching and junk food are going to do me in. Let me tell you a secret, I don't think I've even met a person who's completely satisfied with their body, not in here, not anywhere. I'm sure you think you have a bad case of couch belly, but I don't think Mel would agree. Rach tilts her head back a bit as she laughs. We need to find you some work so I can start getting paid for this. Oh, amen sister, I wish I could afford to. June follows that with, what I don't get is why you never have work in the morning anyway. The morning crowd you run with, they're all self-starters. Or maybe I should call them addicts. They've been here enough time to know what they want and know how to get it. But mostly they just like the treadmills and morning chatter. Not really a place for training for most of them, so I usually come in when they're gone. My bread and butter is soccer moms coming on their lunch breaks, working on their couch belly, Rach adds with a laugh, softly prodding June in the shoulder. As June finishes up her workout, Rach stops her as she is leaving the gym. Hey, I just wanted to give you this before you got out of here, she says, handing June a business card. It's for a product testing program at a tech company. They're looking for people to test out a new product and they're paying pretty well. I thought you might be interested. Melvin told me you'd asked about it, and wanted to be sure you got a copy. June takes the business card, feeling a surge of curiosity. Thanks, Rach, she says with a fake smile. I'll definitely check it out. She didn't feel hopeful about it as she looked over the nondescript business card. Morpheus Technologies, it read, and had a logo that looked like something between a sheep and a cloud. Phone number, email, website, and all the other usual stuff you'd expect on a business card. She tucks it into her pocket and leaves. As she walks home, June can't help but wonder about the mysterious Morpheus and the product they are testing. She has never participated in a product testing program before, and she is intrigued by the idea of being a part of something new and exciting. She makes a mental note to do some research and see if the program might be right for her. Despite her initial excitement, June is also a bit hesitant. She has heard of people getting scammed by fake product testing programs, and she doesn't want to get taken advantage of. But the thought of being able to make some extra money is too tempting to ignore, and she decides to give it a shot. She hopes that the program will turn out to be legitimate and that she will be able to make a difference by providing valuable feedback on some revolutionary new product. It's a Wednesday evening, and Melvin and Rach are sitting at a booth in Old Dominion Brewery. They both have just finished a long day at work and are looking forward to unwinding. Rach had suggested coming here, knowing how much Melvin likes their beer. Melvin takes a sip of his IPA and looks around the crowded brewery. It's always so packed here, he says. Rach nods. Yeah, but it's worth it. The beer is great. True, Melvin agrees. It's just a bit overwhelming sometimes. I've been working so much lately, I'm not used to being around this many people. Rach nods understandingly. It can be tough, especially during the pandemic. But it's important to take some time for yourself and just relax. Melvin nods. Yeah, you're right. I'm just feeling a bit burned out, you know? I've been working a lot of hours at the gym and it's been tough to balance that with everything else. I totally get it, Rach says. I've been working a lot too. It's hard not to feel like we're just going through the motions sometimes. Melvin nods. Yeah, but we have to keep pushing forward. It's important to remember why we're doing this, you know? Rach smiles. Yeah, I know. And I'm glad we have each other to lean on. It makes it all a little bit easier. Melvin smiles back at her. Yeah, it does. Thanks, Rach. Rach raises her glass. To friends who have each other's backs. Melvin clinks his glass against hers. To friends. So, what's the deal with this tech thing Bruce has us pushing? Rach asks. Oh Omen, it's so cool, but Bruce made me swear not to talk about it or I might get fired. Melvin admits with a little shame. You've known me how long only to think I'm some common snitch or careless gossip? Come on, where'd that to friends energy go? I just don't want to end up looking for a job during the pandemic, you know. It's scary enough knowing the governor might shut us down. I doubt we go much further than the mask mandate. We hardly even cut hours. At least for anyone but Calvin on the late night, but that guy needed some sleep anyway. They continue their conversation, discussing their struggles with their jobs, the pandemic, and their hopes for the future. It's a nice reminder to them both that they have each other and that they can rely on each other, which help them to recharge their batteries before going back to the busy world outside. June spends the next few days researching Morpheus and the product testing program. She scours the internet for reviews and testimonials, trying to get a sense of whether the program is legitimate or not. She is relieved to find that most of the reviews are positive, but there aren't many, and she begins to feel more confident about signing up. The weird part, though, is that the only real reference to them on the internet that she can find is the single website listed on the business card, and also the place she had found the positive reviews. Hopefully it wasn't just an elaborate fake website fishing for her personal information, like her phone number, email, and home address. Finally, she decides to take the plunge and apply for the program. The application process is relatively simple, and she is accepted into the program within a few days. She is thrilled to be a part of something new and exciting, and she can't wait to see what the future holds. As she waits for her testing package to arrive, June finds herself thinking more and more about Rach. She has really enjoyed working with her at the gym, and she is grateful for the opportunity Rach has given her to participate in the product testing program. She decides to send Rach a message to thank her for her help and to let her know how much she appreciates her support. She logs into Social Link, checks some notifications, scrolls past a few ads for ODB and some fried chicken place, forgets what she's doing for a moment, then starts drafting a message to Rach, but for some reason it's harder to come up with the words than she thought. Even though she had looked Rach up, and sent her a friend request, and even though Rach had accepted it, it would be the first time she found herself in Rach's DMS. She falls back on her bed and sighs, looking out the window. She was nice to her at the gym, she felt friendly, but that was her job, wasn't it? She was supposed to get people to want to spend time with her, it was her job to be magnetic. The fitness aspect is of course important too, but so many people walk into a gym or other public spaces like it just wanting to be accepted and appreciated. To be made to feel like royalty. So what if it was all just a sales persona? A skin she could shed like a work outfit when she gets home. Underneath was something more comfortable, more familiar, but June couldn't quite imagine, but she wondered what she looked like at home, or out on the town and dressed up, or even dressed down for a sleepover in cute pajamas. Despite the time they spent together, could she say she even really knew Rach? June's phone dings in her hands while she's deep in thought, jerking her into focus as her phone slips out of her hands and connects with her jaw. She picks it up to check it, swiping through the lock screen. New message, Rachel Winters. No way, this couldn't be. She drops the phone on the bed and turns on a hot shower. She loses herself in the scents of coconut and cinnamon in her body wash as she works up a lather over her skin. Why would she message me first, she wonders. Maybe she had to tell her something about how management wanted her to pay up to keep going to sessions, and that they would have to cut them short until she got some money coming in. Or maybe she was messaging to ask how things went with Morpheus and if she would be able to afford classes now. Sure, she was polite about free classes, but June was sure she'd rather be paid for her work if she could help it. That's why she had given her the card to begin with. June lathers her hair with shampoo and unscrews a little tub of almond-scented salt scrub and works it into her face, feeling the exfoliation scrub away a few days of grime and loosen it to be washed away as she passes her face under the cleansing wall of water draining down from the shower head. So, what could she say to her about it, not even being in the program yet? Hold on, I'll be able to pay you soon? As she washed the shampoo out of her hair and the salt scrub off of her face, she tried not to get anything in her eyes, but she failed. Thankfully it wasn't a piece of salt from the scrub. She rubs at her eye, careful to avoid the salt, and tries to flush the soap out of them, looking up at the shower head hesitantly. She inhales deep, the steam coaxing her airways open, scents of sweet almond and cinnamon taking her out of her thoughts and losing them in the steam around her as her hands slowly work their way over her skin, pushing the last residue of the body wash lower and lower until it rolls down her legs, diluted by the stream of warm water rolling down her chest. She exhales, her chest deflates, and for a second she coughs. Good thing no one heard that, she thinks and grins to herself. Feeling almost clean and rinsed, she slowly turns the water cold, feeling as the temperature of the water flowing through her hair changes as waves that wash over her, making her body shiver, completely into the bone. She hops out of the shower and the cold August air makes her smile as goosebumps rise across her skin and her nipples perk up, aroused by the cold and the soft towel passing over them. She dries off quickly and slips into sweatpants and a long-sleeve shirt and curls up on the bed, looking at her phone. What do I even say to her right now? I've got nothing going on in my life right now that she isn't somewhat involved in. She'd probably had enough of her after she got off work. But, on the other hand, she had been the one to message first. With newfound excitement, June opens the message. I had a little bit of a cough today, so I wanted to let all my clients know that I'm getting tested for COVID tomorrow. I might not be in for a little while in any case, because it feels like I have something. I'm just hoping that it's the flu. To this she had added a moment later, I know you are not officially a client yet, but I wanted to be courteous to you. I didn't want you feeling like I was standing you up, anyway. And they about 7 minutes later, not like it was a date or anything to begin with, smiling face with open mouth. Oh well, I guess this means you need to wake up extra early tomorrow to catch the morning rush. June quickly types back, I was in the shower splashing seat symbol. Sorry to hear that, I hope it's nothing and you feel better soon, so I don't have to miss you, okay? June watches the phone for a minute and then sees the 3 dots undulating on the screen. Rach was writing back. June closes her eyes and doesn't open them until the phone vibrates in her hands. Okay June. You're my favorite month for a reason, Sunrise. 3. Opportunity Vehicles. September 2nd. June sits at her desk, staring at her computer screen. She has been scrolling through the website of the mysterious tech company, Morpheus, for what feels like hours. All she can find is a sleek homepage with a contact form and no information about what the company actually does or produces. She has been drawn to the company after receiving a business card from her gym, promising payment for product testing. At first, she was hesitant. The pandemic has left her out of work and desperate for money, but the thought of participating in some unknown experiment makes her uneasy. But as she scours the internet for any information about Morpheus, her curiosity only grows. What could they be testing? And why is there so little information about the company online? Finally, she can't take it anymore. She fills out the contact form that arrived in the mail, hoping for some sort of response. She doesn't have to wait long. Within the hour, she receives an email with instructions to complete a short survey and schedule a VCAL with a representative. June feels a mix of excitement and anxiety as she follows the instructions. She can't shake the feeling that something is off about this whole situation, but the promise of payment is too tempting to ignore. As she waits for the VCAL to begin, she tries to quell the nagging doubts in the back of her mind. She has always been a bit of a skeptic, but she is determined to keep an open mind. The call starts and June finds herself face to face with a camera pointed at an empty chair behind a wooden desk in front of plate glass windows with half-drawn blinds. She can't see the person on the other end, but a voice introduces themselves as a representative from Morpheus. "Thank you for agreeing to participate in our product testing," the voice says with an almost robotic tone. "We are excited to have you on board. We will be sending you a package in the mail with everything you need to get started." June's heart races as the representative continues to speak, strange as it may be. She barely registers the instructions, her mind racing with questions. What is this product they want her to test? And what do they mean by everything she needs? As the call ends, June finds herself more confused and curious than ever. She has a feeling this is only the beginning of a strange and mysterious journey. A few days after placing the order, the second package arrived in the mail, being much larger than the previous yellow envelope with instructions. She was excited to get started. When the package finally arrived, she eagerly tore it open and unpacked the contents. Inside, she found a sleek, futuristic headset and a set of instructions on how to use it. On the side is the Morpheus logo, the one from the business card. Under that was the word Fantasis. That must be the name of the thing. She read through the instructions carefully, trying to make sense of the technical language. It seemed like the headset was designed to be worn while sleeping, and it was supposed to monitor the user's dreams and record them for review. June sits nervously in front of her computer, waiting for the VCAL to start. She has received instructions and a headset in the mail, and she is supposed to join this call at a specific time. As the time approaches, she double-checks that her camera and microphone are working and takes a deep breath before clicking the join button. When the call connects, June is greeted by a person sitting behind a wooden desk, their face obscured by the bright light coming in from the windows behind them. All June can see is a silhouette and the reflection of the room in the plate glass windows. "Hello June, thank you for joining us today," the anonymous company representative says, their voice smooth and professional. On the screen beside their video, it only says M.T. "I understand you have received a package from us and are here to learn more about the product inside." June nods, her skepticism growing. This all feels very cloak and dagger, and she can't shake the feeling that something is off. She presses a combination of keys to capture a screenshot. "Can you tell me more about the product and what it does?" June asks, trying to keep the tremor out of her voice. "I'm afraid I can't disclose too much information about the product at this time," the person replies. "All I can say is that it is a headset designed to record and analyze your dreams. We are looking for testers to try out the product and provide feedback." "I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical," June says. "What kind of risks are involved with using this headset? And how do I know this isn't some kind of scam?" The person behind the desk chuckles. "I understand your concerns, June. But I assure you, this is a legitimate opportunity. As with any new technology, there are always potential risks involved. However, we have taken every precaution to ensure the safety of our testers. If you choose to participate, you will be provided with all necessary information and support." June chews on her lip, still unsure. This is all so strange and unexpected. But the promise of getting paid to test out a new product is tempting. "I'll need some time to think about it," June says finally. "Can I get back to you with my decision?" "Of course," the person replies. "Take all the time you need. Just be sure to let us know as soon as possible so we can secure your spot in the testing program." With that, the call ends and June is left staring at her computer screen, her mind racing with questions and doubts. It only takes her a few minutes to call him back. All it takes is walking past the bill on the table on the way to the fridge. She places a cold glass of milk on the desk and walks through her bedroom into the bathroom, looking at the post-its of affirmations on the mirror. She took a hard look at her face, eyes a little sunken, dark, and her face was thin and pale. I am capable and brave. I can stand up for myself. I will provide for myself. And, of course, I deserve joy in my life. She pauses for a moment, catching her breath. She had really gotten into that. She scans the post-its. I am not alone anymore, and I am destined to do great things. I will make a difference in the world. I have every quality I need to achieve success, and I choose to be happy today, she continues, feeling a bit more resolute. Anything is possible in my life, I just have to take a little leap of faith. June sits in front of her computer with her drink, staring at the screen as the Morpheus representative speaks to her, again, via video call. The camera was pointed at an empty chair behind a wooden desk, with plate glass windows and half-drawn blinds in the background. June couldn't help but feel a sense of skepticism about the whole thing. The headset is designed to record your dreams and store them for your analysis, the representative says from off-screen. We'll provide you with a computer program and an app that you'll use to review your dreams and make detailed observations and notes. It's important that you be as thorough as possible, as this will be the basis for your payment. June couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. His voice seems familiar, like that of a generic salesman she's heard anywhere before. The whole thing seemed a bit intrusive and revealing. But she was desperate for the money, and the representative had assured her that the program was completely confidential. So, with a heavy sigh, June agrees to participate in the testing. After getting off the call, she sends the screenshot to Raj on her desktop messenger app. Weird, right? A few minutes later, Raj replies, I don't want to offend you, but this is the worst screenshot I've ever seen. Face with tears of joy. Seconds later she added, I can't even make out this guy's face. Are you being kidnapped? Is this a cry for help? Smiling face with open mouth and tightly closed eyes. It's the Morpheus guy, and the whole call was like that. The second was even worse. I think he was behind the camera for that one, June replies, sitting down at her desk, staring at the headset in front of her. Despite agreeing to participate in the product testing program for Morpheus, she still feels a sense of skepticism about the company. She has heard of people getting scammed by fake product testing programs and isn't sure if she can trust this company. But the thought of being paid to participate in the program is too tempting to ignore. She plugs the headset into charge and sets it on her nightstand, preparing to use it for the first time that night. The headset looks expensive and legitimate, giving her some reassurance. Still, June feels hesitant about wearing the headset while she sleeps. She isn't sure how comfortable it will be and isn't sure if she wants to know what her dreams are really like. But the thought of being paid to participate in the program is too tempting to ignore, so she decides to give it a try. As she waits for bedtime, she can't shake the feeling of nervousness that has settled in her stomach. She isn't sure what to expect from the headset and isn't sure if she is ready to face the contents of her dreams. But she knows that she has to try, if only for the sake of the money. When she finally slips the headset on and lies down to sleep, June is filled with a sense of excitement and anticipation. She closes her eyes, trying to relax while she waits for sleep to claim her, wondering what the night will bring. It takes her a while to fall asleep, but eventually she drifts off into a deep slumber. The first night is intense, and some of June's dreams leave her with a very strong feeling. When she wakes up the next morning, June feels disoriented and groggy. She sits up in bed, trying to shake off the sleepiness. She reaches for the headset and gently removes it from her head, feeling a sense of relief as it comes off. She isn't sure what to expect from the recordings, but she knows that she has to review them to get paid. That said, there is no reason to do it right now. In fact, she almost dreads it, though she isn't entirely sure why. She doesn't remember the dreams she had the night before, but despite this she wakes up feeling unsettled. After a quick breakfast, she still isn't sure if she's ready to review them and decides to put off the task and go out on the town instead. At the gym, she runs into Melvin and Ashley at the counter. Ashley checks her in, and Melvin waves awkwardly. Hey there. Good to see you. How's the membership working out for you? He asks. I'm learning. It sure beats walking out in the cold this time of year, though the fresh air is always nice, even cold, June answers. Thanks for having Raj pass me the card. I needed the money. Well, making sure you're flush with gold pieces is all part of making you feel like royalty, Melvin says with a cheesy grin. Yeah, I suppose so, June replies. Hey, did you hear that those massive wildfires in the west might have been caused by a gender reveal party? Melvin interjects, just before she can move on into the gym. I'm not even sure I know what that means, much less how it sets multiple states on fire, June replies. Some rich family set off this big blue explosion to announce that their baby would be a boy. Well, might decide to be, I guess. I don't know, The whole idea seems like wacky 1%er excess to me, but anyway, they did it in the middle of a dry field on a windy day and now the rest is history. Melvin informs her that's nuts. Like, people have died, June replies. Not sure what else she could say about a story of such monumental stupidity. But, so far that's how the year seemed to be working out. An idiot president, a virus that if people could act reasonably about for any length of time probably wouldn't have been as bad, endless stupid fighting and controversy, and that was what she knew without watching the news. What a tortured soul she would be if she actually tried in earnest to keep up with the goings-on of the world. She says goodbye and goes to a Smith machine to get some squats in to try and clear her mind. She couldn't do nearly the weight her trainer could, but she didn't have Raj's gluts either. June goes as heavy as she can for set of 6 and tires quickly without someone cheering her on. She goes from there to the exercise bike for a half hour, trying not to read the news show headlines that flashed on the screens before her. Hours later, June sits at the Old Dominion, nursing her drink and trying to push the strange dreams out of her mind. She has always had vivid dreams, but these are different. They feel almost too real, and she can't shake the feeling that something is off about them. She has decided to go out and try to have a good time, hoping that the distractions of the nightlife will help her forget about the strange dreams. She chats with the bartender and flirts with a few guys at the bar from a distance, but she can't shake the feeling of unease. She keeps glancing at the clock, feeling an urge to get back to her apartment and review her dreams. But she's determined to stay out, to prove to herself that she's in control and that the dreams don't have any power over her. They are just dreams after all. As the night wears on, June finds herself getting more and more anxious. She tries to push it down with another drink, but it only seems to make things worse. She can't stop thinking about the dreams, and the more she tries to ignore them, the more they seem to haunt her. Finally, she can't take it anymore. She throws some cash on the bar, to which the bartender replies, "About time, we closed 20 minutes ago, hear me?" From there she staggers back to her apartment which is thankfully close by. Diligently, she makes her way back home, her mind racing with thoughts of the dreams and what they could mean. She feels like she won't be able to sleep until she has reviewed them, and as she walks home, she makes up her mind to face her fears. The following morning, June wakes beside her keyboard feeling a less anxious if not a bit hungover. There was also the matter of the pain in her back and neck. It looks like she had tried to do her job when she got home last night, but she doesn't remember it, and her attempted observations were incoherent at best. No one in their right mind would pay her any amount of money for this. Thankfully, her drunken self hadn't figured out how to submit it before passing out, so her reputation with the company remained safe. She erases her drunken scribblings and gets up to check the mail she had brought in the night before but apparently been too drunk to do more with than stack on the kitchen table. But as she checks her mail, she's hit with a sinking feeling as she places the rent bill sitting on the kitchen table before her. She knows that she needs to review her dreams and get her first payment if she wants to make rent on time. As she sits down to review the recordings, June feels a sense of dread wash over her. She isn't sure if she's ready to relive the events of her dreams, and she's worried about what she might find. She plugs the headset into her computer and opens the software that came with it. Reading a pop-up as it opens for the second time, she downloads the associated app to her phone, granting it numerous permissions which it needs to work, or so it says, and for whatever good it might do her. She knows that she has to face her fears if she wants to get paid, and she grits her teeth and hits play. The process of reviewing the dream is more intense than June had anticipated. As she watches the dream play out on the screen, she feels like she's right back in the dream itself. It's almost as if she's living it all over again, but one step removed in every way but her real emotional connection to herself on the screen. It was surreal to see herself do things she didn't remember, and sometimes couldn't imagine doing. It was as if someone had recorded her in a blackout state and showed her again when she sobered up. She can't help but feel a bit anxious as she relives the 3 dreams she had 2 nights before now. Despite her anxiety, June is determined to get her first payment. She takes detailed notes on the dream and makes observations about the characters and events that take place. She knows that these notes will be crucial to getting her payment, so she makes sure to be as thorough as possible. The process of reviewing her dreams is intense and emotional, and June finds herself feeling a range of emotions as she relives the events of the previous nights. She laughs and cries as she watches the recordings, and she's struck by the strangeness and beauty of her dreams as well as her place in them. As she finishes reviewing the recordings, June can't help but feel a sense of awe and wonder at the power of her own mind. She has never thought that her dreams could be so meaningful, and she's fascinated by the insights they have given her into her own mind. Despite the intensity of the experience, June finds herself looking forward to using the headset again. She's fascinated by the insights it has given her into her own mind, and she's eager to see what else her dreams have to reveal. She charges up the headset and sets it on her nightstand, ready for another night of dream recording. As the days went on, June found herself becoming more and more immersed in the world of the Fantasis headset. She looked forward to each night of dream recording, and she was amazed by the strange and wonderful dreams that the headset helped her to experience. She felt a sense of connection to Morpheus and the other testers, and she was excited to be a part of something bigger than herself. Despite her initial skepticism, June found herself becoming more and more convinced of the validity of the Phantasys headset. It clearly worked, yes, but her conviction was that it was more than that. Finally, she felt like she was truly a part of something special. She was convinced that the headset was onto something, and she was excited to see where it would take her next.